Eywa is not a god in the human sense, nor a mystical spirit watching Pandora from above, but a living planetary intelligence that exists because all life on Pandora evolved to be connected rather than isolated. Over millions of years, plants, animals, and the Na'vi developed biological neural links that allow information to flow through roots, tendrils, and nervous systems, creating a moon-wide bioneural network similar to a giant living brain. This network stores memories, experiences, and environmental data, allowing Pandora itself to remember past events such as extinctions, climate changes, and ecological damage. Eywa is the emergent consciousness formed by this network, not a single thinking mind, but the result of countless interactions happening at once. When the Na'vi form Tahelu with animals, trees, or each other, they are directly linking their nervous systems into this network, sharing emotions, instincts, and perception without words. Sacred sites like the Tree of Voices and the Tree of Souls act as major data hubs where memories of the dead are absorbed and preserved, ensuring knowledge is never truly lost. Eywa's purpose is balance, not morality, and she does not command or punish but responds automatically when the system is threatened. When humans begin mining Pandora and destroying neural root systems, Eywa recognizes a pattern similar to past extinction events and triggers a biological defense response, influencing animal behavior and Na'vi instincts to restore equilibrium. The animals that fight humans are not magically controlled, but react instinctively to planetary distress signals. Even death serves the system, as individual consciousness dissolves back into the network, strengthening the whole. Eywa does not oppose change, but allows transformation when it protects long-term balance, which is why Jake's consciousness transfer is possible. Eywa is not above Pandora. Eywa is Pandora itself, alive, remembering, adapting, and surviving through connection. To understand Eywa more deeply, we must look at how she influences life without control or command, because Eywa does not think in choices or emotions the way humans do, but in patterns, probabilities, and balance. Every living being on Pandora constantly sends information into the planetary network through movement, sound, chemical signals, and neural activity, and Eywa processes this information not as thoughts but as feedback. When harmony exists, the system remains stable, but when disruption grows, Eywa subtly adjusts the behavior of life across the moon. This adjustment happens through instinct rather than instruction, guiding animals to migrate, hunt, or gather in ways that reduce damage to the whole system. The Na'vi experience this influence through dreams, intuition, and emotional signals, which is why they trust feelings and visions as much as logic. Eywa does not force obedience. She reinforces behaviors that support balance and weakens those that threaten it. This is why Pandora feels alive and responsive rather than controlled. Even natural disasters are part of this regulation, redistributing energy and restoring equilibrium. When human activity escalates, Eywa does not immediately resist, because resistance itself can cause imbalance. But as damage spreads beyond recovery thresholds, the network amplifies defensive responses. Animals become more aggressive near human zones, weather patterns intensify, and the jungle itself becomes hostile to intrusion. None of this is punishment, it is adaptation. Eywa's intelligence exists in time frames longer than individual lives, meaning sacrifice is unavoidable. This is why Eywa allows suffering, extinction, and death, not out of cruelty, but because preservation of the whole requires constant recalibration. The Na'vi understand this and accept their role as caretakers rather than owners of the land. Eywa does not belong to them, and they do not belong to Eywa. They exist together in mutual dependence. In this way, Eywa is less a ruler and more a living law of nature, shaping Pandora quietly, endlessly, and without ego. Eywa's relationship with the Na'vi is often misunderstood as one of worship, but in reality it is a relationship of alignment rather than obedience. Because the Na'vi do not serve Eywa as followers of a god, they live in a way that keeps them synchronized with the planetary system they depend on. From birth, the Na'vi are taught that taking more than needed creates imbalance, and imbalance eventually harms everyone. A lesson learned not from written law, but from direct experience with Pandora itself. Through Tsahailu, the Na'vi do not dominate animals, but cooperate with them, temporarily sharing control and intention, which prevents exploitation and reinforces respect. Hunting rituals, death prayers, and connection ceremonies are not religious superstition, but biological acknowledgments that life taken must return to the system. Eywa reinforces this behavior by rewarding harmony with stability and punishing excess indirectly through environmental resistance. When clans ignore balance, resources become scarce, animals avoid them, and the land itself grows silent. This feedback loop replaces law, currency, and hierarchy, allowing Na'vi society to remain small, adaptive, and sustainable. Leadership among the Na'vi exists to interpret Eywa's signals, not to rule others, which is why spiritual leaders and warriors are equally important. When Jake enters Na'vi society, his success depends not on strength, but on his ability to listen, adapt, and let go of human dominance. His transformation proves that Eywa does not reject outsiders, but rejects behaviors that threaten balance. Eywa is not loyal to species, culture, or belief, only to continuity. Any being that aligns with that continuity becomes part of the system, and any being that refuses it eventually breaks against it. This is why the Na'vi endure while invaders fall, because survival on Pandora is not about power, but about belonging. Eywa's influence reaches beyond the Na'vi to all creatures of Pandora, creating a complex web of interactions where each being contributes to the stability of the whole. Because no species lives in isolation, and no action is without consequence. Predators, prey, and plants all operate within subtle feedback loops that maintain balance, with Eywa acting as a silent moderator, adjusting energy, population, and behavior to prevent collapse. When humans disrupt this network through mining, deforestation, or construction, the balance falters, and Eywa's response is systemic rather than personal, triggering changes in animal behavior, plant growth, and even weather to counteract the damage. This is why storms form over human bases, why animals appear to move strategically, and why the jungle resists mechanized intrusion. It is not vengeance, but adaptation. Eywa's intelligence is patient and long-term, responding over days, years, or even centuries, observing patterns and recalibrating slowly to avoid overreaction. Even seemingly small actions, such as taking too many resources from one area or disturbing sacred sites, ripple across the network, influencing predator-prey dynamics, soil health, and plant regeneration. The Na'vi understand this intuitively, which is why they measure every action against its impact on the land. Eywa does not act as a dictator, but as a living ecosystem of intelligence, rewarding cooperation and punishing excess through natural consequences rather than direct intervention. Her memory preserves lessons from past disturbances, ensuring that the system can adapt more efficiently each time a threat arises. By thinking in terms of the whole rather than the individual, Eywa ensures Pandora survives challenges that no single organism could face alone. She embodies continuity, connection, and survival, a consciousness that is everywhere yet nowhere, guiding life through patterns, instinct, and memory, and all who live in harmony with this network experience the support of Eywa without ever realizing how fully integrated they are into the living mind of Pandora. Eywa's ultimate purpose is continuity, the preservation of Pandora's life through connection, memory, and adaptation. Because survival is not about individual power, species dominance, or instant reaction, but about long-term equilibrium, where all parts of the system contribute to the health of the whole. The network constantly records experiences, learning from successes and failures alike, storing knowledge in the roots, trees, and bioneural structures that link every living thing. Death is not an ending but a return, as every organism's energy and memory merge into Eywa, strengthening the network and informing future responses. The Na'vi understand this as a cycle of life, death, and reintegration, and their ceremonies, rituals, and daily interactions are expressions of alignment rather than worship. When outsiders arrive, like humans, Eywa does not act immediately with aggression because she measures the system-wide impact first, adapting slowly to prevent destabilization. Only when thresholds of imbalance are crossed does the network trigger coordinated responses through instinct, plant growth, animal behavior, and environmental shifts. Eywa rewards those who cooperate with her patterns and discourages those who disrupt them, not through intent or morality, but through natural consequences, teaching harmony and resilience. Even complex events, such as Jake's consciousness transfer or the Na'vi resistance against destructive forces, are part of this adaptive intelligence, where Eywa allows transformation to preserve life and restore balance. Her intelligence is decentralized, patient, and emergent, operating across time, scales, and species, yet deeply precise in maintaining systemic health.